My name is Emily Carter, and when I think about my childhood, the memories that stand out most aren't the flashy vacations or the shiny birthday parties. Instead, they're the quiet, simple moments that shaped me in ways I didn't realize at the time. One of those moments began with something as ordinary as my stepdad saying he was hungry. But what unfolded afterward became one of the most emotional experiences of my life, and it changed the way I looked at him, at myself, and at family as a whole. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My parents divorced when I was 10, and like many kids caught in the middle, I felt confused, hurt, and even a little guilty about it, even though I had nothing to do with their problems. My mom, Sarah, worked hard to keep things together, juggling 2 jobs and trying to make sure my younger brother Ethan and I still had something close to a normal life. She was strong, but I could see the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. When I was 12, Mom introduced us to David, the man who would eventually become my stepdad. At first, I didn't know how to feel about him. He wasn't my dad, and I felt defensive about anyone trying to take that role. But David never tried to replace my dad. Instead, he quietly showed up for us in ways that mattered, driving Ethan to soccer practice, fixing broken things around the house, and making sure Mom smiled even after her longest days. Slowly, he became part of our family in a way that didn't feel forced. One evening, when I was 15, I came home from school exhausted after a long day of tests. Mom was working a late shift at the hospital, Ethan was at a friend's house, and it was just David and me. I dropped my backpack by the couch and plopped down, not even bothering to grab a snack. From the kitchen, I heard him chuckle. "You look like you've just run a marathon," he said. I groaned. "It feels like it. 3 tests in one day. Who does that to teenagers?" He leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, his eyes soft with understanding. "You survived, though. That's what matters." Then he patted his stomach and said, "Speaking of survival, I'm starving. I didn't get a chance to eat lunch at work today." I laughed. "There's cereal. Or maybe some leftover pizza if Ethan hasn't already devoured it." David shook his head, smiling. "Nah, I was thinking we could actually cook something. You and me. What do you say?" At first, I wanted to protest. Cooking wasn't my favorite thing to do, and I was already tired. But there was something about the way he asked, like it wasn't just about food. He wanted to spend time together. So I shrugged. "Okay, but you're doing most of the work." He grinned. "Deal." We raided the fridge and pantry, pulling out random ingredients. Chicken breasts, rice, a few vegetables, and some spices I didn't even know we had. David suggested we make a stir-fry. I wasn't convinced it would taste good, but we started chopping vegetables and marinating the chicken. The kitchen filled with the sound of sizzling and the smell of garlic, ginger, and soy sauce. As we cooked, we talked. Not the usual small talk, but deeper things. He asked me about school, about the friends I trusted, and about the ones I didn't. I admitted that sometimes I still felt torn between Mom and Dad, like I had to choose sides. My voice cracked when I said it out loud. David paused, setting down the spatula. He looked at me with a seriousness that made me nervous at first, but then he said softly, "Emily, you never have to choose sides. You're allowed to love both your parents, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. I know I'm not your dad, and I never want to take his place. But I do care about you, and I'm here for you in whatever way you need." The words hit me harder than I expected. I had always kept those feelings bottled up, afraid no one would understand. Yet here was David, acknowledging my pain without judgment. I blinked quickly, trying to keep the tears from falling, but one slipped down my cheek anyway. He didn't make it awkward. He didn't tell me not to cry or try to change the subject. He just handed me a paper towel and gave me a small nod, like saying, "It's okay. I've got you." When the food was finally ready, we sat at the kitchen table, eating straight from the pan because we were too hungry to bother with plates. And surprisingly, it was delicious. We laughed about how proud we were of ourselves for not burning it. But what stood out wasn't the food, it was the conversation. That night, over stir-fry, my stepdad reminded me that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up when you need them, who listens when you finally open up, and who makes the effort to turn an ordinary night into something meaningful. From then on, cooking became our thing. Every few weeks, when Mom worked late or Ethan was out, David and I would find ourselves in the kitchen, experimenting with new recipes. Sometimes we failed spectacularly, like the time we tried homemade pasta and ended up with something closer to glue, but we always laughed through it. Those evenings built a bond one hadn't expected, one that grew stronger over time. Years later, when I was preparing to leave for college, I found myself nervous about moving away. One night, while packing boxes in my room, David knocked on the door and poked his head in. "Hungry?" he asked with a smile. I laughed, remembering that first evening. "Always." We went downstairs and cooked together one last time, before I left. As we sat at the table eating, he gave me advice about being independent, about making mistakes but learning from them, and about never being afraid to call home, because no matter where I was, I'd always have family to come back to. That night, when he said he was hungry, I realized it had never really been about food. It was about connection, about love shown in small, everyday ways. Even now, years later, whenever I smell garlic sizzling in a pan, I think of that first evening when my stepdad was hungry, and I never expected it to turn into a memory that would shape the way I understood family. Because sometimes, the most ordinary words can lead to extraordinary moments that stay with you forever.